now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. He is a Grammy-winning producer, composer, and trombonist. DeLfeayo Marsalis is also a member of the Marsalis family of New Orleans. They're the first family to be designated as jazz masters by the National Endowment for the Arts. DeLfeayo's latest effort is a labor of love with his father, Ellis, the patriarch of the family. Ellis was a longtime jazz instructor at the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, or NOCA, a high school for the performing arts where he shaped a generation of incredible musicians. Now he and his son have come together for the first time on a CD called The Last Southern Gentleman, and they may well be. We caught up with DeLfeayo Marsalis in New Orleans and D.C. to talk about his music and the legacy of which he is a part. People who don't live in New Orleans don't realize, or maybe they do a little bit now, but the Marsalis family is to music what the Brennans are to food here in New Orleans, or what the Nevilles are to funk. I mean, jazz is really this family's domain. What was it like growing up surrounded by not only a father, who is the oracle, I call him, having gone to NOCA here, but he's continuing to perform, and of course your brothers.
It didn't seem like that when we were growing up. You know, we just knew that my dad played music, and when we'd go to his shows, like at Lou and Charlie's, there wouldn't be a lot of people there. And we were just like, why is Dad even here? You know, it's like, it's midnight, man. What are we, you know, what is he doing up here? There's like 10 people in the audience. And
he was there.
And he was there. He was there, and he was fully committed. And I think that level of commitment was what was really important to us. And
are there any memories that you have of watching your father at a young age as a musician and saying, I want to do that, either in performance or at home?
No.
No? No. Just the opposite, probably, because he was so dedicated to this. As all we parents who are immersed in creative projects, it makes it tough on the rest of the family sometimes.
Well, you know, we were just like a Southern Negro family. You know what I'm saying? Growing up in the 60s, we had other things that we were dealing with. You know, Branford and Winton, they were the first individuals to not be bused into an integrated school. Right. My mother chose to, you know, send them to an integrated school. So there were difficulties there. And, you know,
that was the parochial school. That was Our Lady
of Perpetual Help
out in Kenner.
Yeah, and it was a different kind of a situation.
I'll bet.
And so I'm saying those types of things, not to belabor it like, oh, we had such a tough life. It wasn't so much that, but, you know, music was just part of what we did. And I started playing a little later on. You know, I started playing around 6th grade. Branford and Winton started playing earlier than that. We were in the Boy Scouts. We played all the sports. And at some point, we started playing music. You know, my mother was very much into education and making sure that we never missed a day of school.
Tell me about how your faith has shaped this work, your work, both in the community and your music. Has it? I mean, the title of your first album always struck me, Pontius Pilate's Decision. There is a religious, spiritual character, I would say, to your work, to Winton's work as well. Do you see that?
Yeah, well, we grew up Catholic. My mother was very insistent every Sunday. And the thing that stuck out most to me was not the ritualistic aspect of the Catholic Church, but the stories and the great meaning of the stories in the Bible. So I would always look forward to the gospel and what are these stories? And when I recorded Pontius Pilate's Decision, I noticed that there were a lot of similar things going on. And the Bible, to me, has a number of stories that not only tell you about humans' frailty and failings, but also that which we know is correct. And my belief is children know. From a young age, we know right and wrong. It's just a question of what decisions we choose to make.
You produce for everybody from your brothers to Harry Connick. I mean, an array of artists, really incredible people. So that production hat is one that you continue to wear. Tell me about the other, the thing you're most known for now as a trombone player. Where did the trombone come from?
Well, you know, we always say we're perfectly suited, our personalities are, for the instruments we chose. In the jazz band, the trumpet plays the melody. So the trumpet has to have no regard for anyone else. Boy Wynton is right on par with that.
Okay.
He can play that melody and just... Now, the saxophone has an interesting job because the saxophone has to both contradict and argue with the trumpet. Imagine that.
Oh.
And also play things that are complementary.
We're learning all kinds of things
Now,
about
when
the Marsalis boys.
yeah, when the trombone comes in, the trombone is like, hey, maybe everything is gonna be cool. That's what most trombone players are really laid back and cool. Yeah. There's a reason why the trombones are in the middle of the jazz band. Not only to keep the trumpets away from the saxophones, and I think that my personality is suited for not only producing, but for the trombone, for that kind of role playing.
All the Marsalis boys, or as you call them, the Marsali, all of you are classically trained. I mean, you really studied music. And I'm sure this was Ellis's great insistence, because even when he taught at NOCA, a lot of these people, a lot of jazz musicians, they pick it up. Ellis was very attentive to the theory.
Right.
I'm sure he stressed that with you?
Well, yeah, but the really great musicians, Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, these guys, Jelly Roll Martin, were studying from the classical, from the European tradition. And the European history is, a couple of thousand years. It's more than what we have here, in the American tradition. So we think that it's very important to cover as much ground as you can.
Well, I loved seeing you the other night at a little bar, DBA bar, in the French Quarter. You just got up on the stand with the Treme Band. Why do you do that? You're a name act. You travel the country. I know people in other countries who pay to see you. Suddenly here you are popping up as an adjunct member of this band for a set. Why?
Well, you have to understand not only where the music came from, but you have to be able to adapt in any situation. Versatility is very important. And I really try to encourage the guys in the brass band community to come sit in with us. In fact, we had a young man, in fact, I might try to get him, he's related to Trombone Shorty, and he came last week and sat and we put a whooping on him. And it's like, that's what you need. You need the youngsters to come out. I told him straight up, man, we're gonna give you the test the old school way.
I love it.
We're not gonna sit here and just tell you how great you sound.
Delfeayo's mentorship of the young also extends to the New Orleans school system. He oversees a summer music theater program for which he composes original pieces. They capture the lives of great African Americans with a young cast of black and white students. You've got black history here, but then you acknowledge, and it's writ large in this piece I just saw, we love America.
Right.
I also liked when I looked to my right and left, I had a black parent next to me, I had a white grandma to the right of me, and everybody was jamming along and having a great time.
Right.
It achieved its end, it seems to me, just from the audience around me. Forget the kids.
Well, and that's the great thing about the South. And a lot of people don't understand the dynamic of the South who aren't from here. And with the new CD I have, The Last Southern Gentleman, part of the liner notes, I'm describing that. When folks landed on the plantation, right, irrespective of how they wound up there, it was one big family. And the thing that folks in the North don't understand is that it's like if you have this family and you got an uncle and he's doing stuff he shouldn't be doing, and then you got a cousin and the cousin is really good. You have all these dynamics, and that really is what makes the South unique. That's why jazz came from New Orleans, because you had all these people in this one place and they had to figure out how to get along, how to make it work. And that's what we try to do always, get as many people together and say, we've got to make this thing happen.
Delfeayo has made it happen, touring with everyone from Ray Charles to Art Blakey. But these days, he's traveling with another legend, his father, the renowned pianist and educator, ELLIS Marsalis. Their first ever collaboration is a CD and tour called The Last Southern Gentleman. What is it like, Delfeayo, for you to travel and do gig after gig all over the country with your dad?
Well, it's different on a number of levels. My dad knows exactly what he's doing. He's got that really relaxed touch and that sound, and that's really helpful, you know. And it reminds me of when I played with the great Elvin Jones and the type of direction. You know, we have different specialties, I would say. So I prefer, you know, more of my originals, and the standards, he's just tearing those up. He's old school in me, you know.
Well,
so it's like if I'm not on top of it, he's just gonna take it over.
Ellis, what is the secret? I mean, you have mentored and shaped now a good generation, maybe two, of jazz musicians known the world over, from Terence Blanchard to Harry Connick to your own sons. What is the secret, if there is a secret, to training a master musician, a musician that can really stand out?
Well, I don't know that it's fair to put that totally on me with the training. When I was teaching at NOCA, all of the students, with the exception of the drummers, was studying privately with somebody. But for the most part, the whole concept is not so much a secret, but a respect for excellence.
And you believe in drilling the essentials, do your scales, you work the notes, you work the intervals, but then you like the idea of embedding a young artist among older artists and playing with a group.
Playing with a group, yeah. It's not always easy to get the young and old together.
Delfeayo, you have really caught this bug, as have Wynton, this notion of passing along what you have to a younger generation. And what I love about your group at Snug Harbor is it is a gumbo of young performers and veterans who played for decades. What does that interplay give the younger performers and the older?
Well, I think the challenge for older musicians when they play together collectively is to maintain that fire, which the youngsters have.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the older groups, they're kind of settled, and but they have that relaxation. So it's a great balance, I find, in everything. And you know, I find in tennis now, you see that the older generation, now they're teaching the young guys, because it's just that knowledge, that years of experience, you can't replace that. So to have everybody together, I think is the best thing.
Are you the last Southern gentleman of jazz?
Well, it's not us, but it's the idea that the integral elements or the crucial components in jazz had to do with good manners and a sense of humanity. And today, that's being expunged from the music, and it's only about what scales you're playing, how many songs do you know, how complicated can you make the music. But we find guys like Louis Armstrong and King Oliver, Kid Ory, and you read these great stories about how they were part of the community, and they were gentlemen. Yeah. And this is what we want to bring back to the younger generation, say.
The Last Southern Gentleman is available at Amazon and iTunes, as is Delfeayo's children's book, No Cell Phone Day. We want to thank the Bethesda Jazz Club and the folks at Snug Harbor in New Orleans for welcoming us.